Hey, sorry for all the for the lateness and the header, and I didn't even schedule it. Was super busy all day. Um, Let me quickly tweet this out, and then we can get going. Let me know if everything works because I haven't checked that either, but I think it should. Sounds good. Nice. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey, Don. Another great newsletter this week. Thanks, my dude. Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's always nice. Like, Cred writes them insanely well. And I mean, I just work on a little bit of the charts and the research and like try to make my opinion fit in there as well. And then they always sound gorgeous because Cred makes them so. What's up, Doug? Audio sounds good. Thanks for the stream. Appreciate you coming by, my friend. Appreciate you. So before we start, shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Their support is appreciated, and that's why I give them the shout out. Their links are in the description if you want to check that out. They have pretty much the best mobile app in the game, in my opinion anyway, for trading crypto to one asset to the other, that kind of stuff. Should check it out if you do that at all. If not, it's also fine. They won't hate you for it, I'm sure. Lol, you're so boring at 1x speed, don't usually catch live. I don't know if that's gonna, if that's an insult or not, but I'll take it. I'm in a good mood. Usually that would be rude to say to someone. Imagine going up to someone and be like, hey dude, you're fucking boring when you talk. Can I speed you up somehow? I mean, that's fucked up. But like I said, I'll let it slide for today. Yeah, a bunch of people in the chat asking for other people to hit the like button. So, I mean, do them a favor because I'm never going to ask for it on my own. He's in a good mood, bullish? Nah, it doesn't have to be. So, like, the big news, whatever, like, everyone keeps talking about in the last few minutes is that, like, this old wallet has moved some coins after 8 years. While, like, to the normal person, this sounds like a lot of Bitcoin, right? It's actually not that much. Like, it's a little bit, but it's not that much. Shouldn't really have a big impact. It's just more like people freaking the fuck out. Even if it's dumped, and it doesn't have to be dumped, right? So when you see these kind of things, like as long as Satoshi's wallet isn't moving, you're probably good. The moment Satoshi's wallet is moving, you're probably gonna see like the biggest dump you've ever seen. And I don't think that's gonna happen. So there you go. I mean, there's a bunch of people, for your info, like if you're interested at all in this kind of stuff, there's a bunch of people that run bots that check Satoshi's wallet to see if there's any movement, and they're gonna auto dump the moment, like auto dump and start shorting basically the moment there's any movement there whatsoever. Which makes sense, right? People are gonna freak the fuck out if that ever happens. But like I said, I don't think it will. Probably wasted effort, but I mean, doesn't really hurt to have something like that, right? So, but yeah, to give the title away, I don't think this is a big deal. But heads like that's an impressive amount of years to hold something that's worth this much. So hats off to that guy. How do people find wallets after 8 years? I mean, some people just have their wallet still but don't move it. Like, I mean, imagine if you have enough money to get by and you're like bullish something. I mean, there's a bunch of people that have like similar USD values in stocks, right? That you would never think they have it, because I mean, why would you sell if you don't need anything? It's like, for example, like for me, I don't really want to buy anything. So like I don't have to do anything with my crypto if I don't want to. So I could hold for years as well. Right? You don't need to realize crypto gains. So yeah, I mean, you can have like either like he has a bunch of wallets and he's just like deciding to move one to another, or maybe even dump it, or like there's a bunch of reasons why this could be happening. I don't think it's just like, oh shit, I forgot this wallet and now I'm gonna find it again after 8 years. But it's all just speculation, who knows, right? But in general, I don't think that's gonna like do too much. If it dumps because of it, the market was weak in the first place. And I don't think that's the case right now. The market still looks decently strong. No idea. This is probably a daily level. Yep, it is. And this is also a daily level, which is nice. Did you just see that? Like the daily and the monthly level at the daily and the weekly levels are pretty much the same. So we have support down here. And then if you want to be like super careful, whatever, we have support down here. And that's like, those are the closest supports to price. And I mean, I honestly think we shouldn't go back below 60K. I think that would start looking really bad. But unless we do that, I mean, just moon it, right? No real reason to panic here. If it does go back below 60K, I mean, most of us have been holding since the mid 40s. Giving back like 67 to 60K is fine by me, right? If that's what it takes, I'm fine. Like I'm fine with giving up this. Basically these 10% to capture the next 15-ish. And I mean, who knows how high this is gonna go if it really goes, right? The only thing that's really gonna turn me bearish on Bitcoin on like a macro thing, like on a macro scale, is if we start going up and then start going sideways. Like I'm gonna be staying bullish until we either do this and go completely parabolic, as in like shoot up to like 80, 90, 100K in a straight line, or until we do the first like weekly consolidation. That's gonna make me bearish as well. I think the moment we start going sideways from here, we're probably gonna get like a leg back down again. But I have to see one or the other. Otherwise, I'm not going to sell into strength, because that's basically strength, right? If you're selling into like a massive green candle, that's selling into strength. And then if you're selling into consolidation after an all-time high breakout, that's also selling into strength. And those are the only two ways that I'm going to do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to sell into weakness, which would be losing 60K. And then I'm going to sell into that. So that's my macro plan for Bitcoin. There's not that much to it. There's not that much to it. Jeez. This evening is gonna be a struggle. I'm like super tired. I've been getting back on the workout train and on the climbing and on the sauna stuff. So like my week's been full of like exercise, and it's making it hard to concentrate in the evenings. Love the clickbait title. All you need is to set a shock duck as background. Yeah, I mean, I gave it away at the start of the video, right? So, I mean, if you came here for the clickbait title, doesn't really matter. The 2K Bitcoin that were moved doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's kind of my view. Like I'd be happy to sell into strength if it's a blow off top. And for someone asked in chat why I think that, like if this goes completely crazy towards like 100K, I think that's unreasonable fast again. And then we're either gonna see a repeat of this or just straight up bubble pop. Most bullish thing, like if you want to see like the most bullish kind of outcome, I think would be basically what E's been doing. This is the most bullish a chart can look. Slow grind up usually ends in crypto anyway with a pop at some point. And the longer it goes like this, the harder it can pop at the end. Now it can obviously also just fuck off, but that's very rare. So like in general, when I see this, I'm like, okay, it's probably gonna go up. That's not how Bitcoin looks. Bitcoin looks like this, basically. You have a small candle, you have a bigger candle, you have a bigger candle. That is gearing up towards a parabola and towards like, towards a blow off top, I think. And it's close enough to like valuations where I think that's reasonable. It could obviously go higher. I mean, I'm not gonna say there's no way Bitcoin cannot reach like above 100K. I'm just saying like I'm happy to sell the Bitcoin that I bought at 40 into 80. Take the 2x home with me. Take even more than the 2x on the ETH trade and be done with that. And then there's gonna be another trade, right? Let's say your wildest dreams come true and it goes to 130K, right? And then in typical kind of Bitcoin fashion corrects 50%. That's gonna be right into the supported 60K, right? I'm down with trading that again and then like getting in there, selling it back into 90K. Like I'm the trader. I don't really care. Like if I sell it at 80 and it goes to 130, I mean, I'm gonna be a little bit salty, but that's just cost of doing business, right? I'm gonna be more than happy to buy back at 60 once it actually does correct, if it does so. I mean, this just looks like it wants to kind of accelerate to the upside. And that kind of dominates my view on altcoins, which has been, like, it's a little bit concerning that we have, like, Litecoin move up and XRP move up a little, and Zcash moved up for a tiny bit, but has been dumping back down. But I don't think those are quite ready yet. Litecoin's been, like, the strongest one. Actually did reclaim at least one resistance. But as long as it closes back below like 0.004, that's going to be just another bearish retest, right? So there's not that much of a danger of like, okay, the altcoins are running away with it again. But yeah, it does concern me a little bit. But in general, like, I'm not like too bullish on the altcoins as long as Bitcoin is in this state. Because either, like, if it goes sideways here, I think there's going to be like a window for altcoins. But it kind of feels like it would feel weird going sideways before it goes towards like 70 or 80K. Because that would be way too close to like 60K, like just from a feelings perspective. Could happen, doesn't feel like it's going to happen in my opinion. So that's why I'm like not buying like altcoins too wildly. There's a few outliers that are interesting, but not the entire market as a whole. And I'd much rather speculate with the Bitcoin that I have that Bitcoin is gonna go towards like 80K. And like I said, pull the plug if it goes back below 60K. And yeah, I think if that happens, if this goes parabolic, right, and goes towards like 70, 80, 90K, what happens with ETH, I think, is it's not going to go parabolic. I think ETH BTC is going to go down. That makes this like drag on for a while. And then we either get like a massive pop, and that would be old season and everything goes completely nuts. Because I mean, these valuations are fucking insane already. Or it just does this, which is rare, right? So like this would be more common, like do like something like this. I'd be down with that as well. But I think like ETH's not going to be able to kind of keep up with Bitcoin if Bitcoin goes parabolic. So I think that's going to go, it's going to go up, I think, if Bitcoin does go up. But I think it's going to go up slower and then catch up all at once. So yeah, that's my view on this thing. I think in general, like, doesn't really make much sense to be bearish Bitcoin right now. Let me actually move the weeklies. Oops. There you go. Doesn't really make much sense to be bearish on this chart if you just look at it, right? Yeah. This is all-time high, right? You had all-time high here. You had every chance to push this down and put it into a bear market. Didn't happen. And I mean, I'm down to argue that we're in the same situation if this fizzles out, goes back down, does something like this, because then you have the same situation again. You have like a high set here, you have a bigger high set here, deviation above all-time high, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm down to argue that the run's over, right? But until that happens, I mean, just gonna be happy and chill. Any questions to that? I don't think it's too complicated. It's pretty much like it has been really straightforward since 40K. And I don't want to like just say the same thing every stream. That's why I always ask what you guys think. Can we check Doge Bitcoin? Sure. I mean, Doge looks like garbage, absolute utter garbage. And I mean, that's making me like, look at this. It's making me hopeful. I hope the Dogecoin, both Dogecoin and Shiba go to shit. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, and this is not because I hate the holders and want them like to be poor or whatever. It's just for the health of the market. And if you remember like a couple, I mean, this was a while ago, a couple days ago, weeks ago, whatever, me saying that I think Dogecoin is actually gonna like catch up to Shiba, like kind of return towards the mean. I think that's still the case. I still think that you're gonna see Dogecoin kind of grab back some of Shiba's market cap. But yeah, Shiba's looking like complete dog shit, which is good because then ETH fees are gonna go down. You wanna see that kind of bleed out so that the entire market can get a little bit more healthy. Unless you hold Shiba, of course, then you don't want to, but I mean, yeah. Reasons for the sell-off are obvious. When you have like one guy that controls like 20% of the supply, ready to dump on you any second, I mean, it's just really hard to be like too bullish on it. So we've had like a small intraday pump, which I mean, small, went up like 50% and then dumped back down. And this is just gonna play out like Dogecoin did, in my opinion. So I had the same discussion with Dogecoin holders, just on the Bitcoin pair. See this? And I mean, I can like legitimately one-to-one map this out, right? So you have like the blow off top-ish in here. Then you have a bounce, you have a lower bounce, you have like these two bounces. You fuck up to nowhere. You start bleeding out again. And then you pump, and people are getting excited again, and you dump again, and then you pump again, and you dump again. You get the gist. It's gonna play out roughly the same, in my opinion. Could be wrong in that. I'm not short Doge or Shiba, even though I think both of them are gonna go lower. And that probably would be short if it was easier in my country to be short. But yeah, I'm pretty bearish on both. And usually when you have like altcoins go off, Dogecoin looks good. Right now it doesn't. So I think there might be a little bit more room to go for Bitcoin, but could be wrong on that front. I don't speak English, but I'm still watching. I mean, I appreciate that, brother. Don't know if that's gonna help you at all, but I mean, appreciate it. So, yeah. Let me see what you guys have written. That's USD pair versus Bitcoin pair though? Yeah. I mean, Dogecoin, large holders of Dogecoin give a shit about Bitcoin, about the Bitcoin pair. The Shiba Inu Zoomers don't give a shit. They're all about the USD pair. So this is the more important pair for the Zoomers and for like the large Shiba holders. And this is the more important pair for the big Doge holders. And you can see how they're the same. So I'm just gonna use them like that. Hey Dawn, what do you think about us? All of us back holders of Sol, AVAX, etc. Should we hold until we see ETH pop or rotate to Bitcoin and or ETH? How can you be a back holder of Solana? How does that even work? This shit's up for like the last year for 1 billion%. Like, how can you be a back holder of something that looks like this? I don't understand. Shit's up 7K%. What are you talking about? But in all honesty, I mean, we talked about this like legitimately last stream. Someone asked me about my opinion on Sol, and he was like, I bought like Sol USD support, whatever. What do I think about it? And I was like, I could see this range, right? This was legitimately, if you have watched the last stream, we were trading exactly at the high, if I remember correctly, somewhere in there. And I was like, I could see this be like a larger range because, like I said, the reasoning was that when we broke out down here, we did it with gusto. We did it with like some momentum. Gusto, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I just sound like a moron saying it. But yeah, like we broke out with momentum, right? And we broke out without looking back. And that's a good breakout. And this is shit breakout. So you broke out, retested immediately, and then headed off. That's a shit breakout. Those I don't trust. Usually, like those are the trade-outs, the breakouts to fade. And yeah, that's what happened, right? Failed at the all-time high against Bitcoin. Broke back down again, is now at support, right? So like if you're a bag holder, as in if you bought in the last 3 days, which I mean, Jesus, what a way to kind of go about it. But if you did, I mean, you're at support right now. If you lose that support, it looks a little bit shitty, not gonna lie. I think at that point you could easily go back to like way lower support, which is down here. But yeah, it gets rough below the support because there's nothing real technical. Maybe like somewhere in here. Which, as I'm saying, it is quite low, right? Like that's 20% decrease still. But that kind of aligns with my view on the altcoin space. Like, I'm not entirely sure if it's ready yet for like a full-on rotation. I think like the big Bitcoin push that kind of steals liquidity out from alts hasn't happened yet. Doesn't need to happen, but like with Bitcoin so close to all-time high, just like I don't bother usually. So yeah, I mean, we talked about this like legitimately last stream. And then with the USD pair, there's probably nothing there because it's just, yeah. Like with this, you cannot do anything. That's why I'm looking at the Bitcoin pair because this is just in price discovery, right? And then this is something that I warn people about though, usually. Like you have one push, you have two pushes, and then you have like a shorter third push. At some point in that third push, no idea how high that's gonna go, but I mean, at some point, I think the top's probably gonna be in, at least temporarily, like you pull back significantly below the third push origin. And then maybe you go again, but usually like whenever you have like chart structure like this, you pull back, like you do like this, right? And then you pull back somewhere below this. So somewhere here. And then if it's bullish, it keeps going back up. If it's bearish, it usually finds resistance at that area. So usually like I stay away from these. Not a Solana hater. I mean, maybe a little bit because I don't like when my blockchains go offline. But price-wise, obviously, like the trend is your friend. Shit's gonna go, like shit has gone up a shitload. So probably going to continue. That said, it's so far up in the market cap list and it's so far up from like it just like moved percentage-wise that, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting my hand in that cookie jar. Hey Don, what's the best way to contact you? I mean, if you're like, there's no good way to contact me usually. Like if there's like, I don't accept any partnerships, deals, whatever. If there's any questions, I mean, you can ask them in the chat. And if there's like a good question, you can DM it to me. As long as you don't just DM me hello. I lose my mind whenever I get a DM that's just hello, because what the fuck do you do with that? So yeah, that's that. With regards to these pumps, like I said earlier, it's a good sign. That said, like, it's not like this is 30%, which is always nice, right? But considering like how long this has bled down, it's not that much. But if it starts closing bullishly, there's a little bit of room to go for these dino coins, but I think that's going to end the end of the bull market. So if this has like any follow through in the next few weeks, I think the bull market's pretty much done. I've talked about this in the past. These coins only move when people go completely idiotic. And that's not just like normal people going dumb. It's also funds going dumb, right? They're like, oh shit, I've missed like some bullshit narrative for this garbage coin. Let me allocate, and then allocate too much, and it goes up and it just fucking dumps and people get trapped. Like in general, like these only pump when the market goes irrational nowadays. And 30% isn't that big of a deal. If it keeps on pumping for a week or two, then I get more worried. And same with Doge, obviously. But Doge has been looking like shit. So maybe Litecoin's just an outlier. Bitcoin Cash has been moving up a little bit as well. But nothing to worry about just yet. Like nothing to worry about too much. It's a little bit worrying, but not too much. You say hello back. Dude, I have to accept it. Like, imagine this, like, right? You DM me hello, and I DM hello back, and then you ask me a stupid question that I don't want to answer, and then I'm like, I'm already invested in this conversation, right? Like, I've already said hello. So it's like, it would feel rude not to, like, answer the question, but I don't want to answer the question because it's a shit one. And it's like, ugh, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So like if you DM me hello, I'm just not gonna respond to anything because I can't deal with it. So yeah. Do you consider buying XRP? I have been thinking about it, but so far, like I said, my Bitcoin view kind of permits me from buying it because I mean, one, it's at resistance right now, but two, if Bitcoin dumps here, right? If Bitcoin dumps to lower than 60K, I think altcoins are going to take like a 10, 20, 30, 40% haircut on the Bitcoin pair. If Bitcoin pumps here, I could see, not as sure as on the dumping part, but I could see altcoins dump 20% as well. Bitcoin goes up 20%, altcoins go down 10, 15, 20%. Could easily see that, right? So the only kind of like, and I think this straight up dumping or straight up pumping are relatively realistic, both of them. And then like this going sideways right now is relatively unrealistic. And those are the only three options, right? So I think like both like the most realistic cases involve altcoins not doing too well. And there's obviously always going to be outliers, right? So I mean, before you spam me that like your altcoin went up like 5x after I said that, shut the fuck up and listen for a second. I mean, there's always going to be a coin or two or a sector that's going to be an outlier. But I mean, I'm always like, I'm talking about the grand majority of these coins, right? You go through this list and like 80% of those coins are going to be down if that happens, in my opinion anyway. Doesn't really matter what your coin does because it's an outlier. Okay, so yeah, in both of those cases, I don't think they're going to do too well. So that's why I'm like not looking into buying XRP. And like I said, the chart isn't really too great. The only kind of reason to buy XRP right now would be that you have like info on the court case, which I still think is going to be like a bullish catalyst. I think there's going to be like a green candle. Like the problem is like the longer the court case goes, the longer you're going to be stuck sitting in XRP while it bleeds out, right? But yeah, I think at some point the court case is probably going to go bullish, as in positive for XRP in one way or the other, be it like when they have to pay like a couple million in charges against them, they don't really give a shit, right? So I think like at that point you'd get like a massive green dildo. I just don't know if it's gonna be like this week or if it's gonna be like in 6 weeks or like in 6 months. And so you gotta have to time it relatively well, because I mean I bought here because I was like, okay, maybe we're gonna get some good news about the court case and stuff, and then you got a massive pump, and then that didn't happen, so I sold, and now it's all the way back down again. And if I just held, I mean, fine, like I'd still be in profit, but by not much. And so I'm gonna trade this around the moment I see like Bitcoin being in a position where I think altcoins can do well. and gonna be one of the coins that I buy, but not right now. And I could be wrong on that front. Like it could just, when the news comes out, it's just gonna be a green dildo. So, or like if it's negative, which I don't think it will be, but if it's negative, obviously a massive red one. But I think more likely than not gonna be positive. How will the rotation be in your opinion? Bitcoin, ETH, major, small, Doge, trash? I think it's gonna be Bitcoin, trash, and then small, and then into like the majors, and that's gonna be the end of it. I think the cycle of like the biggest to the second biggest to the third biggest, like that's how it used to be, right? So like Bitcoin pumped, ETH, Litecoin pumped, ETH, Litecoin, XRP, that kind of stuff back in the good old days of 17. That's how it used to be, which was really nice because you were sitting in Bitcoin, everything dumped. Then you moved into like ETH pumped. Then you moved into like XRP or whatever, that pumped. And then you moved into something smaller, that pumped, and you could get out. Nowadays, I think what happens is like it's Bitcoin into meme trash coins that like balloon from tiny to massive into the bigger coins. And then it all goes to shit, basically. I think that's like, that has been a change. I have no idea how the NFT space is going to react to any of it. That's going to be an interesting one. I think it's more reliant on the fees of ETH than anything else. I think if ETH fees go down, I think the NFT market is going to recover somewhat. But it's not my market, and I have no special insight on that front. Do you have a public Discord server? I don't have like my private public Discord server, as in I don't own necessarily one, but there is one that I'm in, which is bottom shortest. Yeah. If you go through my recent posts on my Twitter profile, there's a link to it in like 4, 5, 6, 7 posts down. As in not in my actual tweets, I can actually show you. So what you do when you're interested in what someone has tweeted, you go to like their profile, you scroll down, and then there you go. And you can join that. It's free. But like I said, I'm not in there all the time. And usually I just get in there and then laugh at people and go out again. But yeah, I do have like a place where I am occasionally. Hi, I've been in the market for a year. I have a question. How does an instrument's dominance affect it or the market? Thank you. If you see an answer, I'd be happy if you could be technical. How does an instrument's dominance affect it or the market? Not entirely sure what you mean. If you're like talking about like altcoin, like an altcoin getting, I can't even think of a good way to answer that question because I don't quite get the question. But yeah, if you rephrase it, I'll answer it for you. The FTT chart? Okay, sure. Is the FTT chart like the SOL chart? Oof. That looks like garbage. Jesus Christ. Yeah, not bullish on that. Yeah, I mean, that just looks shitty. You look on the weekly, and I wouldn't want to touch this. I mean, it can easily pump its FTT, and FTT's been going up a shitload, but you look at this, like this, you don't even need this box. I can put this just on the daily. Okay, so you look at this, right? And the first thing that's obvious is that it had a high, and it had a blow off top. And then it fucked off. And when you see stuff like this, what usually happens is that, like at the best case, you find resistance here, and then you fuck off. Now, this is FTT. It's usually like going up when Bitcoin does well. So maybe it does well. I have no idea. But like when I see this chart, like that doesn't really scream buy to me. When I see this chart, I'd usually look for a play from resistance down here towards like support, which would be maybe down here, like a range kind of thing, which is, yeah, not that far away. That's realistic-ish. But yeah, something like that, maybe like a range in here. If it's bullish, I don't like the chart though. Like what it's doing right now is basically it's finding resistance here, right? So a bunch of people bought here, it rallied up, it took a shit, and people are getting out again there. And in general, like even you could even do it like this if you want to be like have it technical, and then you have a range here. And I could see like it retested the resistance, goes to support, does whatever. Not too bullish on this chart unless it actually starts climbing back out again. At that point, bears are invalidated and then it can go up. But that's like this, like 25 to 30% is, I'd be more than happy to kind of miss out on that before getting actually in when it looks this shit. Sponsored by FTX. Yeah, I mean, they're not sponsoring me to kind of lie about stuff. And I like, that's how cool they are, because they don't like, they're fine with that. They don't require me to say anything at all, actually. They're just like, we want to sponsor your show because it's cool. And I appreciate that. Not going to lie for anyone or anything. But yeah, it looks kind of shitty. It's obviously like, I think it's gonna be like a decent buy below range low at that point, like, and either here or when it reclaims, or above here, anywhere in between. I don't think so. And I mean, that doesn't, like, this is against Bitcoin, right? This went up a shitload against Bitcoin. Against USD, it's still doing perfectly fine, but that I don't really care too much about. Like, I wouldn't want to trade something that just goes up against USD while Bitcoin outperforms it. It's not my trading style. So if you like, and you can actually see that some of this stuff even works in the USD pair. So you had like your run to all-time high, you broke back down, found support, at support, and then bounced. But it's a weak bounce, and I don't like it too much, and I don't like it on the Bitcoin pair. And that, like I said, kind of aligns with my view on altcoins in general, which I think is that they're probably on average not going to do too well when Bitcoin moves big time. So yeah, I think I've talked about like specific coins enough, because now people are getting their cash tags out and I can deal with it. It's too much for me. Sorry, bros. Any thoughts on holding MicroStrategy? No, I think it's stupid. Like, why would you want to hold? And let's do it like this. MicroStrategy. Yeah. Like, it's actually done decently well. MicroStrategy has, but why would you hold something? I mean, it's basically it's been sideways since forever, basically. But I mean, why would you want to hold something that has the added risk that is MicroStrategy? Like, I don't trust Saylor, I don't trust his cronies. If MicroStrategy was outperforming, like, so if this chart looked like this, right? If this chart looked like this, MicroStrategy was outperforming Bitcoin big time, right? Then I'd be completely down with saying, okay, I can see the point. But it's not, right? I mean, Bitcoin is kind of like, when have MicroStrategy gone in, like roughly in this time? Like, Bitcoin is roughly on par with MicroStrategy, which I'm actually surprised about, that people are still buying this shit. But yeah, I think you're just adding risk. Doesn't really make much sense. Just buy Bitcoin instead. Because at the end of the day, and I've seen this multiple times, and I've seen this actually back in 2014 when I was like looking into how to get into crypto, when people were talking about like investing into like any crypto company around, right? People were buying crypto companies to kind of like speculate on crypto going up. And they were sitting there and they were making like 5x's when Bitcoin went to the moon and back, right? It's like, yeah, sure, you made a bunch of money, but did you really do well? And I think the answer is no, it's not worth the risk. Bitcoin dumping? Yeah, it's a dumping a little bit. I mean, it's good fun into an area. Like I said, 70 to 80k is big resistance. We tagged 70k and we fucked off. And people were making fun of me for saying 70 to 80k is going to be big resistance. And I mean, here we are struggling with 70k. But I don't think it's because of the ancient coins that are moving. I think it's just in general. I mean, the market in general is just dumping, you know. You see the S&P dumping, you see Bitcoin dumping. You're like, oh shit, is it because of the ancient coins? The answer is no, it isn't. I meant the dominance charts, Bitcoin dominance, altcoin dominance. Sorry to flood a little bit. Chat, go up. The dominance charts are all shit. You should not waste your time with it. Because altcoin dominance chart includes stable coins, that kind of stuff. Don't give a shit. It's a tool for people that don't really know what they're talking about. And if you can make it into something that works for you, fine by me. But that's always gonna be my opinion. It's a stupid tool. It's like stock to flow. If it works for you, it's basically like answering a math question wrong and getting to the right result. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna be happy if you get like full grades, but it's still a shit answer, right? And I think that's both the altcoin dominance chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart, and it's also stock to flow. So that's my opinion about the matter. Not worth wasting your time on. Hey Don, sorry for digression, but did you hear Crypto Manran being salty about you putting him in place? Oh man, it was hilarious. He'd be like, I don't even know who this Donald guy is. That is hilarious. Is he actually still following me? Because Crypto Manran... Yeah, dude, he's been following me for 4 years now. I haven't followed him because I think his content is shit. And he's basically dumping on people, in my opinion. I think that's what happens. Allegedly, whatever. I don't want to get sued being on record. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't know me, but follows me for 4 years. Interacted with my shit a bunch of times. Whatever. Just embarrassing. So yeah. But yeah, the thing is like the S&P is dumping, so everything is gonna dump. And this is like the biggest kind of wild card, I think. Because, I mean, the traditional markets are getting completely whack, right? Like, I mean, this is just insane. Like, stuff's going up, this is just not okay, right? But then again, like inflation data, blah, 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 I know what people are going to say. But still, like, the traditional markets are going whack, right? And with that, it's really, really hard to predict this kind of stuff. And any kind of weakness in the traditional markets is going to, as long as it kind of continues, is going to kind of go into crypto, right? So when I'm saying, okay, I think there's very, very little chance of anything happening that, for example, looks like this, us going like this and then going sideways here, that just means that without outside influence, because I mean, if the S&P, for example, dumps straight up, like to like low numbers, and I mean, the market's just been so wild that you cannot really predict it in any kind of form, then crypto's going to take a shit as well. So that's always the wild card in the room. But I mean, it makes sense to just ignore it because in history, usually this shit only goes up. And if we're the lucky or unlucky guys, probably more unlucky, where this thing tops and just fucks off, which I don't think will happen, right? But I mean, if we are the guys that happens to, I mean, we're shit out of luck. Shit happens. Better to kind of speculate on this to keep going up. But yeah, it's getting kind of nutty. It's a little bit scary. And I mean, there's a good reason why I'm not all in with my money in the markets. Because, I mean, I just don't know what to think. So yeah. Do you think the Loopring rally is over? I have no idea. It's GME fueled, like GME guys fueled it. So it's basically the same as the S&P, where you have no idea where the fuck it can go. Because if you look at GME, right, they've managed to hold GME up for almost a year now. I think at some point this is gonna collapse, but who knows if that's gonna be like after something like this. But yeah, these folks are nuts, right? And when they get involved in something, and this is the only kind of reason why I was interested in Loopring, because they shilled it a bunch for weeks now. Yeah, they can pump it and it could keep going higher. There's no real ceiling on it. Would I leverage long it or whatever, like here? Probably not, but I could see it go higher. So if you're holding it, I mean, you can wait for this to kind of topple over. If you see GME do really, really poorly, I think you want to sell this, because the people that hold GME hold Loopring. Evergrande defaulted on bonds. I know. Why is stocks dumping? I mean, there's multiple reasons probably for it. Sometimes they just dump because, but yeah, Evergrande, like the guys just said in the chat, defaulted from what I've been hearing. I mean, before I went on the stream, I saw like a little bit of a media article. So yeah, has Don looked at Shiba yet? Yeah, I have. Shit looks hilarious. I mean, this is gonna be a wild ride back down. Gonna take a while. Same with Doge. We talked about Dogecoin a year ago, basically taking a while, or like half a year ago, taking a while to go back down, because these kind of pumps, how they usually play out, when you get like these 3 pumps, or like in Doge's case it was just like massive pushes, but still the same, right? Look at this. Get one, and this is almost always the same. You get one big one, you get a smaller one, and then you get the shortened third one, and then it fucks off. And this is the same deal here, right? So you get like 3 pushes, and then like it starts distributing, and if it really starts distributing, it kind of goes towards like where these pushes originated from, and then holds up for a while, and it goes to the next area and holds up for a while. And this shit can take ages and ages. And you can see it here. Like this one here held up for what, 3 months, still in that area. The next kind of area of support is going to be this one. That's quite a bit away. Going to take a while to get there, and then it's going to hold up there for a while. And then I'm not entirely sure if it's going to go lower than that or not. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at these things. How do you interpret that whale wallet move? That's the title of the stream, and I answered it in the beginning, which is basically, I don't think it matters much. The S&P move matters much more. I don't think the 2K Bitcoin are enough to kind of spook the market, or like in general, like break the market. It's just not enough Bitcoin. Have we seen the complacency bounce yet? I mean, I talked about the complacency bounce in here, right? So we did this. I started getting bearish, called this the complacency bounce. We broke out, and I was like, okay, now we look for macro kind of complacency bounce. I called this one the macro complacency bounce, got bearish. And then it failed to kind of break 40K. And that's where I flipped, right? So that was my complacency bounce for this area, right? As in this one for the micro time frames, and this one for the macro, and that invalidated after not breaking 40K. And I think if this is the top, which I still like, I'd be surprised about, but I mean, is possible, right? I think what we're gonna see is pretty much the same thing play out. This would break down, and then complacency bonds towards like 60K, and like micro time frames, as in the daily. And then it would break down, and then it's the question of, okay, are we putting in a macro one further down the line, or are we actually bullish still? So there's no complacency bonds in this right now. We are retracing the last 4-hour candle. Yeah, but like I said, like this shit, and I mean, people just miss this entirely every single time. You see the S&P bounce, like die like this. What Bitcoin is doing doesn't really matter, right? You look at this and you're like, okay, holy shit, the S&P is going down a shitload. What is Bitcoin doing? And it's obviously the same thing, right? So now the more important part is, okay, is Bitcoin actually like holding up stronger during the S&P depth, or is it holding up weaker, right? So let's say you put them in relative terms, or in general, you just kind of compare, okay, the S&P dumped from, like, you can actually do this if you put them side by side if you want to. This is the S&P on the 1 hour. This is Bitcoin on the 1 hour, right? And you look at, okay, Bitcoin put a high in here, right? During this time, like during this candle. So this is where Bitcoin put in a high. The S&P rallied a little bit. Bitcoin put in a high here, right? And this is low time frame stuff. I like it much more in the higher time frames. I'm just using it for like reference. And then actually Bitcoin showed some strength during the inflation data that came out, and made like a higher high here, which the S&P didn't do. And the S&P, if you compare this, like these are the lows, right? So you have these lows here, and the S&P broke straight through, and Bitcoin hasn't yet. So Bitcoin is showing at least some relative strength, because it hasn't broken below. Like this is where the structure is, right? This is the important structure that the S&P has broken. And you look at this, and you're like, okay, this hasn't done that yet. So it's like, it's strong on a relative basis. It's obviously still gonna dump, because I mean, you see these kind of big moves on the S&P, that's always gonna lead to a crypto move to the downside. So that's what you have to look for. It's not like, okay, shit, the 4 hour is fully retraced, because at the end of the day, like that previous 4 hour candle was a sign, like that was strength in comparison to the S&P. And now this weakness isn't as weak as the S&P has been. Obviously still not a good look, but that's kind of how you have to look at the market nowadays, given that we're, at least in these kind of circumstances, relatively closely correlated, especially when the S&P dumps. Like when the S&P dumps, usually crypto follows suit. When the S&P pumps, crypto doesn't have to follow suit, but it does it sometimes. Why are you ignoring my question about Wyckoff? There's so many questions that I don't see everything, but I'm not really into Wyckoff, but I don't mind it as like a way to like see where the market's at. I know a few people that use it relatively well. Are we going to flash crash? I mean, if the S&P dumps, we might, but unless that happens, I don't think so. I don't think crypto is super weak, or like, I mean, there's a little bit of excess leverage, and there's a little bit of like a high open interest kind of thing going on right now. So yeah, but nothing that has me too worried unless we start losing 60K. Is there a name for the free moves up theory? No, it's just something that I've been using for years. There might be one. I don't know if anyone else has kind of put it in place. It's probably like, people are going to come up and be like, it's Elliott theory or some shit, because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They do have something like that. I think it's just a little bit different, and it's just like my thing. Because my thing isn't like, they have like specific rules how big these have to be. For me, it's usually in crypto, the first push is the biggest one, second push is like a little bit smaller, and the third one is even smaller than that, which doesn't fit with Elliott or whatever. So yeah, I don't think there's a name to it, but you can see if it works for you. Like it's been like, for the macro moves, it's been working for me. So free moves theory is Elliott wave. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like I said, it's not basically like, I'm not using Elliott wave at all. It's just something that I've seen in the market myself. Yosaka is scaring me a bit with his sarcastic, devious idea venting about how to use Ancient's wallet Bitcoin amount to nuke everything through cascading liquidations, correlations. Am I paranoid? Not necessarily, no. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to freak people the fuck out in crypto, and that is one of them. Like, ancient coins moving is always gonna freak people out. I don't think it's a big deal. But like I said, I mean, OI is a little bit low, so open interest, and leverage is a little bit high. I mean, if it cascades, it cascades. There's not really any important structure that we could lose in the near vicinity, which has me a little bit on the chill side of things, right? Let's say we go like this, we start dumping, as long as we don't like go really hard and go towards like low 50s, we haven't lost any structure that is important. But I don't think, like for me looking at this, I don't get too nervous. I think unless the S&P dumps, I think 66 is probably going to hold. And even if that doesn't, probably 63. And anything below there, I start getting panicked. Well, like not panicking, but I start getting worried. Anything below 50K, I'd start panicking because, I mean, my entries aren't really much better than 50K. Like they are, but then again, like if we start losing 50K, go towards like 45, that's roughly where my average is. I'd be like, did the round trip thing. And it's not a bad thing, right? When you do like the round trip, like you buy something, it goes up, it goes back down again. It's just, I mean, part of the game sometimes if you like think that there's more upside to be had, but it sucks to go through this like as a trader, but just shit happens. So yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, not panicking yet. Lower time frames look like shit, but that's because the S&P looks like shit. On the lower time frames, on the higher time frames, you can barely see this. So that's just obvious. Gold's actually doing quite a bit better, but yeah, not worried. I think for now, it makes sense to still remain bullish. If we start losing weekly support into the 60s, that's where you start getting worried. If you start losing like 58, I think that's where you start freaking out. Hope that helps. Like I said, altcoin summary is that like with Bitcoin being this close to either breakdown or break up, makes relatively little sense. Unless you expect it to go sideways, in which case be my guest, because I think like if we go sideways, altcoins are going to do really well. I'm just expecting some volatility, and that's why not too interested. Hope you enjoyed it. Big shout out to the sponsor of the show again, which is FTX. They sponsor me even though I sometimes say bearish things about FTT. So I appreciate their support. If you want to check them out, check their links out in the description. They have the best mobile trading platform in existence in crypto, in my opinion. And they still do all the portfolio tracking that you're kind of used to from the old Blockfolio app. So yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. Appreciate it. Don't dump on me too hard. But yeah, it looks kind of shit right now. We'll see how that plays out. And yeah, we'll see each other on Friday probably, if I can make it. Can't promise, but probably going to make it. Not sure. See you guys. Bye-bye.